The Nationals have seen the Mets. This time, Washington leads the NL East. Gio Gonzalez tries to build on 3 of his best starts this season, while Matt Harvey looks to deliver another shutdown performance against the Nats. The series opener from D.C. right now on NESN. Hot day in our nation's capital. Yeah, it even tempts you to take a jump into the Anacostia and get yourself over to the ballpark. Interesting about these Mets and about these Nats, they've only met in 2 series so far this year. They're going to have 4 more series. So when we last met these guys, May 3rd, the Nats were on the tail end of taking 3 out of 4 from them. The Mets were 4 games up. The Nats, it's a 6-game swing since then, going 37-27 during that time. The Mets 32-34. So is there a race in the East? That may be answered here over the next couple of days. And FP, the Nats have seen some serious pitching. You can talk about lack of offense lately, but that has a whole lot to do with the other guys on the mound.
Yeah, first of all, you take a jump in the Anacostia, and second of all, they've faced a few good pitchers lately in Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke. So we're going to show you some offensive numbers on how they've hit lately. But hey, they're a banged up bunch. They're doing the best they can. They faced 2 of the best pitchers in baseball back to back. They're facing another one here tonight, and just like Clinton Robinson said, no one's going to feel sorry for us. It's the big leagues. This is how it is, and you got to find a way to win. So you look at the last 2 games, you go, wow, they're really not swinging the bat. I prefer to say Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke.
And then there's Matt Harvey, who's given the Nats very little this year. Some hits in 13 innings, but they haven't been able to break through on the scoreboard.
Well, he has a 16-inning scoreless streak against the Nats. He's had Bryce Harper's number. He's pitched well against them. But the thing I'm watching is his last 2 starts. He's walked 9 guys, 5 2 starts ago for his last start. So command has been an issue for Matt Harvey. We'll keep an eye on that. But against the Nats, you see the record, 2-0, 9 hits, and a couple of starts.
Everybody talking about, can the Nats hit the Mets pitching staff in this series? I would like to ask, can the Mets hit the Nats pitching staff in this series? They're last in baseball in runs scored. Zimmerman Wednesday, Joe Ross tomorrow night, and Gio Gonzalez tonight, who has 8 career wins against New York.
The Mets have been scuffling offensive well. They left 25 runners on that 18-inning win yesterday in St. Louis. That ties a franchise record. They've been scuffling with runners in scoring position. They're dinged up too, so you have 2 dinged up offenses against 2 pretty good staffs. So we'll see what happens. Gio Gonzalez, the last 3 or 4 starts, has been fantastic. He's kept the ball down. He's really finding a comfort zone pitching to Jose Lobaton, who calms him down, frames a low strike well, has told Gio Gonzalez, throw the ball below the strike zone. I'll pick up that pitch for you. And he's been pounding the zone. Look for more fastballs, look for more curveballs, tonight from Gio Gonzalez against the Mets.
Yeah, so there's his line, main second at Citi Field, as he had 7 innings, almost perfect that night. In fact, he came real close a couple of years ago to no-hitting the New Yorkers. And his last 3 games, he's been solid and not giving up a whole lot. And as a rule, throughout the season, Gio keeps the ball in the park as well.
Yeah, last 3 starts, 15 strikeouts and just 5 walks for Gio Gonzalez.
There was a little bit of offense against the Dodgers. Yunel Escobar had most of it. Yeah, Bryce had a 2-run homer in one of those games, but Escobar had 5 hits, a homer and 2 RBIs. So he's one guy. Maybe it doesn't matter who's in the outfield or on the mound. The Mets and the Nats. Interesting July series straight ahead. lesson brought to you by PNC Bank, for the achiever in you, and by visitAnnapolis.org. Find the Chesapeake experience at visitAnnapolis.org. Hot night at the Yard. They still got the All-Star caps on sale here. Those are gorgeous. And we are getting ready for what should be a very interesting 3-game series. It's 90 at game time here. A little bit of cloud cover here and there, but the folks out in the right field corner and out by the scoreboard, they're going to pay the price for a while until the sun gets behind the grandstand. We've got game notes for you to get this one going tonight. The Nats are 2 up on the Mets. 14 out of 19 at home against the East. Overall, 23-15 against the NL East. The Mets stranded more than 24 runners, but they won the game in 18 innings at St. Louis. By the way, they had a 20-inning game against that ball club about 5-6 years ago. And there's Gio, 14 career starts, 8 career wins against the Mets. Welcome back, Dan, on behalf of part-timers everywhere, myself and you. Good to be back.
Myself as well, Bob. Good to be back. Now, across Major League Baseball this year, teams are scoring just a touch over 4 runs per game, 4.09 runs per game. And that 4-run mark is going to be huge throughout this series for both the Nationals and the Mets. Both teams, when they get to that 4-run mark, they have a lot of success. When they don't, 3 runs or fewer, they struggle. The Nationals, 34-9, scoring 4 runs or more. The Mets, 34-5, scoring 4 runs per more. When they don't get there, they struggle. The Nats haven't gotten there much lately, just 2 of their last 9 games. Get to 4 runs, guys. You got a good chance to win in this series.
Yeah, the Mets have scored only 317 runs this year. By the way, that's Dan with our Coons.com sideline report. When you're talking cars, you're talking Coons. So here comes Gio for the 15th time career against the Mets with that 2.87 ERA. Curtis Granderson awaits, and that's a perfect fastball bolted to the outside corner.
Let's see, the Arsenal fastball 92, curveball 78, changeup 84. 8 career wins against the Mets are his most against any opponent.
And Jordan Zimmerman goes 2 nights from now, and he is 8-5 career against New York. Granderson, 6 hits his last 4 games. On the grass at third, Escobar, swing and a miss, and Gio's fastball comes out crackling on a hot night. We know he's well rested. It's been a while since he's been out there.
Yeah, last pitched on the 10th of July at Baltimore going into the break.
He had the hook in mind, and Curtis Granderson knows it, heads for the third base dugout. Quite a curveball to get the evening started.
Well, you're thinking you might see some more curveballs from Gio Gonzalez, but right out of the gate, perfect. Started right at Curtis Granderson and then broke late right down the middle. Nice pitch.
Well, let's see how strong Gio feels throughout this one. Kind of feels like South Florida here tonight. Muggy, hot. Kind of weather he grew up in. Ruben Tejada, the shortstop. Right now he's the hottest Mets hitter with a 7-game streak. That's on the outside edge. And we'll set the umpiring crew for you in a moment. We will tell you that is crew chief Mike Winters behind the plate. Tejada steps in at 255. And it's 0-2. Mike Winters, 28th year in the big leagues. Mike Malinsky, the rookie at first. Mark Wegner, 17th year at second. 20th year at third base for Marty Foster. The Mets on the road have struggled. They're only 16-30. 0-2 pitch.
And their offense has struggled big time. Dead last in the National League in OPS. 12th of 15 teams in on-base percentage. 14th in run scores. Last in batting average. Last in slugging percentage. Terry Collins trying to figure out a way to score some runs for his ball club. The pitching for the Mets has been spectacular. The offense, just the opposite.
Yeah, hitting only .234. Lowest batting average of the 30 big league teams. And the fewest run scores out of 30 teams. They miss David Wright. Michael Kadire not in the lineup tonight. FP not hurt that badly, but a knee thing that's been bugging him, and he's not in there against a left-hander.
He had to come out of the game yesterday against the Cardinals, and Terry Collins said he didn't want to start him and have that same scenario here today, to where you lose 2 guys really. So he's got him on the bench. He's available to pinch hit, but it's a bruise behind his left kneecap that's been barking, and wants to give him as much rest as possible.
Rest of the Mets lineup: So there's Tejada, how hot he is. Then Daniel Murphy, the doubles machine. Juan Lagares down to the number 7 spot. 3-2. Gio is way ahead. And that's a ball chopped foul. And by the way, the Mets at home. This is unusual because the Nats dominate them in New York. They've got the 3rd best record in the league at home at 32-14. But as I mentioned, they're winning only about 2 out of every 5 road games. And they've been good against the East like the Nats. They're 23-15. That's outside the bag for Escobar. Yeah, Ruben's had a good month, hitting .304. A career .254 hitter. His first 5 years in the big leagues, just .237 last year. .3-2. That was close. There's an appeal. No swing, says Mike Malinsky. That's interesting because that's real close to where strike 1 was in this same at bat.
Matt Williams not liking the call. I don't know if he's shaking his head about the location of the pitch or the swing itself. But he's ready to go. Look at him. He wants to get in this ball game. That's his old third base stance he's got working.
Here's Daniel Murphy. Good career success against Gio despite the lefty-lefty matchup. 93 outside. Murph 7 for 20 with an RBI. Steps in at .268. And that's 22 points below his career batting average.
I said the defense behind Gio for this first game of the big 3-game set. Dendecker, Taylor Harper, the outfield. Desmond Escobar, left side of the infield. Espinosa Robinson, right side. And Jose Lobaton, who's turned into Gio Gonzalez, his personal catcher behind the plate. They've been working well together. And Matt Williams, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
1 ball, 1 strike. There's the curveball outside. Mentioned the Mets' 16-30 record away from home. Only the Marlins at 14-31 and the Phillies at 11-37, worst in the National League. And even the Braves 11 under 500 on the road. So the East just not doing the job away from home. That's a fair ball into the corner by Murphy. Might be a play at second. Harper throws into the cutoff man. Probably the right thing to do for Bryce, and it's second and third, 1 out. And there's Murphy, who specializes in doubles. Did he hurt himself, or is he just taking a breather there? I think he was expecting Bryce Harper might be trying to throw him out at second base.
Well, Bryce throws it to second base. Tim Tuffle waves Ruben Tejada around third. So Bryce definitely did the right thing by throwing this to Danny Espinosa. Anytime there's a ball down the corner, you get a long throw back to second base. It allows the first runner, the lead runner, to score. So if this is a long throw to second, Tuffle can wave him, so he doesn't. Bryce hit the cutoff man, did the right thing. And now the Mets, who are 3 for their last 62 with runners in scoring position, try to jump ahead.
Wow. Yeah, when Murphy's swinging well, nobody gets more 2 bags than him other than maybe Anthony Rendon. Here's Wilmer Flores, who's batting cleanup.
They were 1 for 26 with runners in scoring position yesterday in that 20-inning game, and 3 for their last 62.
And I mentioned to my partner a couple of hours ago, who would have thought that you'd look up in July and batting cleanup for the Mets would be Wilmer Flores, and for the Nationals, Yunel Escobar.
This is an 18-inning game. I'm looking at my notes right here. It was the longest game they've played since the 20-inning game they played in 2013 against the Marlins at Citi Field. They lost that ball game. So Terry Collins and his crew, 18 innings yesterday in St. Louis. I gave up after 14. I couldn't watch it anymore. I don't think anyone's ever going to score again.
Flores has driven in 38 runs. To pull, they play him. And Gio will move him off the plate with a high-tight fastball on 0-2. 251 for the Mets in 78 games last year. He needs the strikeout. Gets a tapper. Runner at third stays. Gio looks. Throws to first. Right on target. Well played. 2 down.
How about the lows never stop improving? Look at the progress of Gio Gonzalez throughout the course of this year. And from May of 2014, you see his numbers against the Mets to right now. And like I said earlier, his 8 career wins against the Mets are most against any opponent.
And by the way, with that out, Wilmer Flores 0 for 11 career against Gio. That'll bring in John Mayberry Jr.
I talked to Terry Collins today before the game about the runners in scoring position. He's telling me that the veteran players, they relax in these situations. They have the slow pulse. They realize what the pitcher is going to try to do to them, and they execute the game plan better. Where younger players, they get the pulse going faster, and they think the pressure's on them to drive in runs. And with the veteran guys like a David Wright, a Michael Kadire, they realize the pitcher's up against it, not them. We've talked about that a lot.
Mayberry 4 for 22 career against Gio, but 2 of those hits home runs. Change up, low and away. Lobaton slides to block it. And a 1-1 coming. Target away. Hard hit. Third base. Escobar backhand. Fires it across. Great defensive play to end a scoreless top of the first. So a walk and a double. No harm done. Gio gets a couple of key outs here.
Saved 2 runs. Great play by Escobar.
Right now, a good play with the glove to keep the Mets off the board. Nats are 9th in the league in hitting, still top 5 in runs, top 4 in home runs. Bryce has reached base safely last 16 games. On top of that, 23 of his last 47 plate appearances, he's been on base. It adds up to a league-leading .465 on base percentage. That's the best as well in all of baseball. And here comes Matt Harvey, and the Nats still trying to break through against him.
Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke, Matt Harvey. Fastball averaging 96. Slider curveball change to go with it. 2-2 with a 1.71 his last 5 starts. He has, however, walked 9 batters in those last 2 starts. 5 on the 4th against the Dodgers. 4 last time out against the Diamondbacks.
He'll groove a few here and there. He's given up 14 home runs this year. That's a strike to Michael A. Taylor. Harvey tonight making his 54th career start. Michael 3 for 6 career with a double against him. Let it get deep. Fouled it off to the right side. 0-2. Harvey career 20-16 with a 2.60 ERA. 6 starts against the Nats, an 0.68 ERA and a 3-1 record. Right down the middle. 99 to strike out Michael A. Taylor leading off.
Well, it's a big strike zone yesterday all day long. A very pitcher-friendly strike zone, to put it politically correct. And this one starts out very similar. Pitch track likes a low strike, but this one, I mean,
yeah,
the glove almost hit the ground, and you see the frame by Anthony Recker back there, and he gets the call, and that's how this one starts. Mike Winters with a generous call.
Yeah. And I think it's worthy to note, I mean, all the umpires are united under the umbrella of Major League Baseball now, but Mike Winters, a lot of years in the National League, which used to tend to be a low ball league. Danny Espinosa will be safe as Harvey has that one hit off the end, the heel of his glove, it appeared. And we'll see how they rule it as Danny puts some pressure on the Mets defense.
Well, I like the idea. There goes a no-hitter. They already put it up there. Danny Espinosa with a base hit bunt, first hit of the night for the Nats. And he has been as good as anybody at bringing it with him, and it's a good idea. I mean, trying to get something going, trying to get his wheels on base, and you look at Harvey with a little stutter step, and he was just a little bit late getting there because of his follow-through. It hits him in the heel like you described it. Actually hit it on his thumb outside of his glove. But a good bunt by Espinosa, and the Nats with a base runner here early.
Yeah, now off the stretch. What a good runner that it is to get aboard, because here's Harper. Bryce is looking for his first career hit against Matt Harvey.
Hey, just so much, I don't want to say pressure on Danny Espinosa, but if he gets on, you have to pitch to Bryce. And whether it's, you know, Michael Taylor, Danny Espinosa, the Mets have no intention of pitching to Bryce Harper this series. I know that Matt Harvey has a little ownage on Bryce, that he scuffled, striking out 6 times career and 12 at-bats against him. But they're not going to pitch to him this series if they have a base.
97 in there to even things up. Inside the numbers from STG. So he hasn't done as much damage. I mean, those aren't horrible numbers by any means, but against the rest of baseball, wrecking crew, one man. Pretty good rip at 98 right there, off to the left to win. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Kind of interesting side note too. When you face a couple of really good pitchers, and on the third day you're facing another guy, how does Matt Harvey's stuff add up to Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke? It's one thing if you face Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke and you face a number 4 or 5 starter, a 4-starter, 5-star, and then you face Matt Harvey. But he's coming right after Zach Greinke. So as a Nats hitter, you just saw some pretty good stuff. And does Matt Harvey's stuff measure up to those guys?
So you're already geared up, but can you execute? 1-2.
That, Carp, and it's a great point. You're geared up, but if their stuff's better than Matt Harvey's, then Matt Harvey's stuff is going to look bigger tonight. Does that make any sense?
It does.
When you face 3 or 4 really good pitchers in a row, you start going, oh, well, that guy's was better than this guy, and this guy's pretty good, but he's not as good as that guy. Whereas if you face Matt Harvey a month after Greinke, you think, wow, he's got great stuff.
Hey, as a hitter, you're looking for any edge you can get. 1-2 pitch. Harper takes it up and away.
It's just day-to-day comparison, and it's going to keep on going in this series with DeGrom and Syndergaard.
Yeah.
After, I mean, if you're a Nats hitter, you're grading the best pitchers in the National League all in 5 days.
Yeah, and then you go to Pittsburgh. Second lowest ERA in the league over there. Time given. You know, it's fun to talk about the Triple Crown. Bryce is a candidate. Goldschmidt's a candidate. If he gets healthy, Giancarlo Stanton doesn't hit for high average as a rule. But I think for Bryce to be able to contend for that, especially in the RBI department, he needs Span and Rendon back in this lineup in front of him.
Well, there's no doubt that Denard Span makes this team go. And, I mean, you could talk about everybody else all you want. I think Bryce Harper wins a Triple Crown if he keeps taking his walks and doesn't try to do too much. And I think the most impressive thing he's done with everybody injured is stay disciplined at the plate and not try to do too much. There's a tendency with guys hurt to go outside your zone, but he's still taking his walks regardless of who's hitting behind him and staying in his lane, like he likes to say.
He's worked it full here. Bryce has walked 67 times. Espinosa holding close, and it's ball 4. What a good at bat by Bryce Harper. So if ball 4 to Ruben Tejada was valid, pretty much the same location there, even though it was a hitter on the other side of the plate. So Bryce adds to that .467 on base percentage.
And that's the thing that was so impressive about Barry Bonds throughout his career is he didn't care who was hitting behind him. If you were going to throw him a strike, he was going to take his walks. He never went out of his strike zone to do too much. In the comparison with Bryce in 2015 is accurate. He's the same way. He's not going out of his strike zone regardless of who's hitting behind him or regardless of the situation of the game.
Big spot for Escobar now. So in 14 career plate appearances now, Bryce Harper has managed to walk twice against Matt Harvey. Escobar 1 for 5 career against the flamethrower. And knowing that Escobar likes to go the other way a lot, Wilmer Flores over toward the bag, and then he went hopping back over to the right side of the infield before that pitch. Way off the line. Eric Campbell about 25 feet playing first base.
Curtis Granderson is playing Yunel Escobar like he's the opposing pitcher in right field.
He pulls it. That's a base hit to left. Espinosa speeding around third. Looks like he'll beat it. Not even close. And the Nats are on top. And they have finally scored a run on Matt Harvey. Escobar doesn't care who's pitching, does he?
Or where he hits the lineup. Leadoff, second, third, today fourth for Yunel Escobar. So the leadoff, I shouldn't say the leadoff, the base hit bunt by Danny Espinosa pays dividends early. Yunel Escobar with a great piece of hitting. Daniel Murphy just out of the reach, and the Nats are up 1-0. Yunel Escobar. He's fired up, but how about the dugout?
Yeah. Well, and you talk about all this all the time. Just to get a pitcher like this off the stretch in the first inning, he's now going to face his 3rd consecutive hitter from the stretch position. Not allowing him to get into that rhythm where he just takes you about 9 or 12 in a row to start the game. Clint Robinson 0 for 3 against Harvey earlier this year. Dropped the breaking ball 86 in there for a strike. And now the battle begins for Clint, who's hit .291 over his last 31 games with a slugging percentage of .456 and on base to the tune of .376. And with the target away, he expanded to foul it off.
Well, that's an easy 99, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't even look like he's trying.
That one hit way out in front. Good secondary lead by 1 runner, and then Escobar late leaving first. He's tagged, but coming home is Bryce Harper. So the Nats sort of steal a run and lead 2-0 as Yunel Escobar stayed alive long enough.
He stayed alive long enough, but the tag was such that there was no position to throw out Bryce Harper, who got tangled up with Daniel Murphy at third base on top of everything. So you see the change up in the dirt from Matt Harvey. Anthony Recker comes out, throws to second base, and now we got a pickle. And Bryce Harper gets tangled up with Murphy. If you watch the top of your screen up here, watch. Didn't stay with it. He got tangled up, and now he got the rundown. Escobar does stay in it. But watch how Eric Campbell tagged Escobar with his back to the play. And once Bryce Harper saw his numbers, the back of his jersey, he broke for home. And the Nats steal a run here in the first.
2-0. That could be huge. Robinson on the infield, left side. Ruben Tejada. No matter how you get him, you'll take 2 in the first or any inning against Matt Harvey anytime. So Bryce are on the bases. Escobar pumping his fist like he got the RBI. He sort of did.
Escobar was clapping is because he did a great job avoiding the tag from Eric Campbell. And by avoiding this tag, so we're going to watch Escobar together. By avoiding the tag and taking Eric Campbell into right field, that allowed Bryce Harper to score. So, okay, great read by Bryce Harper on the wild pitch. Now let's watch Eric Campbell on the tag and watch Escobar get out of the way. Now Campbell has to reach toward right field away from the play, and Bryce Harper saw that and scored. So, yeah, Yunel Escobar should have clapped because he was the reason. A great read by Harper on the back end. But Escobar's little Olay right here, taking Eric Campbell into right field, took the momentum away from the play, and Bryce Harper saw that. Good stuff.
2-6-3, and Bryce Harper steals home. 2-0. Eric Campbell, the first baseman, top of the second. Gio long first inning. 23 pitches, 14 strikes, ball 1. Campbell scuffling at $170. Line drive, and Escobar's doing everything so far. With the glove, with the arm, and on the bases, 1 out.
See how he threw it to Desmond? Oh, my. I wanted to say this, but we went to break in the top of the first. Yunel Escobar's playing deeper today. He's been playing so shallow at third base, and maybe he's getting more comfortable, but he would have never made that play on John Mayberry to end the first, or this play right here to start the second, had he been playing as shallow as he has been. And did you see how he threw it? He just kind of flopped it up out of his glove and smacked it to Ian Desmond as he threw it around.
Here's Juan Lagares. Another shot. Can't quite make the connection there, and Desmond no reason to throw. Base hit for the Mets center fielder, who's now 9 for 20 career against Gio. Hot corner indeed tonight.
It's so interesting in Gio's last start in Baltimore with Yunel Escobar. A ball got by him, and we had a shot of those two in the dugout talking. I asked Gio the next day, I said, what were you telling Yunel Escobar? He said, hey, get your head up. It's okay the ball got by you. You saved me so many times at third base. I'm not worried about that ball getting by you. I think a run scored or something on the play. And now tonight, Yunel Escobar is indeed saving Gio Gonzalez.
Here's Anthony Recker, the Mets catcher, as Escobar wonders what his next adventure will be. Recker was 0 for 12 and batting $143 when the Mets sent him down recently. At AAA Las Vegas, he managed a rebound in 21 games with 19 RBIs and a .293 average, so he's back in the big leagues. 31-year-old catcher. But a .197 career hitter with Oakland, the Cubs, and the Mets.
See, I'd be the other way. I'd hit a $197 in Vegas. No chance of hitting 300 there.
And I have a feeling this goes beyond baseball.
I'd be broke and I'd be hitting a $197.
Not a good combination. Catcher in the batter's box. Double play in order here. If Gio can get the ball down. Record 0 for 6 career against him with 4 strikeouts. Short lead at first by Lagares, which surprises me a little bit because you'd figure he'd want to stretch it out a little bit and at least have a chance to break up a double play. And we know he can run, but there's a left-hander on the mound, and some guys aren't comfortable getting real far off the bag against a lefty. Kind of leaning back a little. 1-2 is the count. He's off and running. A bullet by Lobaton, but it's on the wrong side of the bag, and that gets Lagares into second base with his 7th steal of the year. So he deked everybody by taking the short lead and then swiping second base.
And he picked a good pitch to go on, too. A slow curveball from Gio Gonzalez. Nice effort by Espinosa on the short hop, still putting the tag on Lagares, but the straight steal works for the Mets.
It also gets them out of the double play ground ball possibility with the pitcher on deck, giving them a chance to turn over the lineup here in the second. Two balls, 2 strikes. Danny Espinosa playing the right-handed batter close to up the middle so he can keep the runner honest. Two with 1 out. Got him off speed in the dirt. 83. Gio's 2nd strikeout. 2 down here in the second.
Pretty good changeup right here. Watch the late movement. Record looking fastball way out in front. Nice pick by Lobaton. Puts the tag on Anthony Recker. And now Gio Gonzalez has to negotiate Matt Harvey, who does have a pretty good swing. He's got a home run on the year.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't go to sleep on Harvey with the bat. 4 hits this year. A homer, 3 RBIs. 93, couldn't catch up.
Well, if you're reading swings, it doesn't look like he was too comfy on that first fastball in from Gio Gonzalez.
Runner at second, 2 down, 1-1 count. Harvey takes a pretty good whack at that one, but he's late for 94. Harvey, a career hitter at 136. .79 way outside, 3-2. Left-handed hitter Curtis Granderson next. Gio overmatched him with a fastball curveball combination first time around, and Harvey stays alive.
Getting closer to that fastball. But I still think you don't try to trick him right here. Here's my best fastball. If you hit it, tip your cap.
Nissan, the entire AB, a half dozen pitches here. 3-2. Got it. Fastball up, inning over. And Gio Gonzalez strikes out the numbers 8 and 9 hitters. That's a good thing in the National League.
Look at that dog. Jason Worth is 6'5", and that dog's every bit of 6'5". Hey, get your pet calendar on August 27th, 7:05 start against the Padres. But that dog is 6'5". Wow. That dog could play in the NBA. Unbelievable. I want one of those. I want one of those. I want one of those. Nationals.com/pet day to get the picture of Jason Worth with the 6'5" Pekingese poodle.
Now that dog weighs 240 like he does. Look out. It's a sumo match. Nationals due up, bottom of the second, brought to you by Freight Rail Works. So Ian Desmond hoping his bat comes alive in this series against some good Mets pitching. Jose Lobaton usually homers when somebody's aboard. And Matt Denducker had the biggest hit of the Dodgers series for the Nats. He's in the hole here. 6, 7, 8. Ian Desmond 4 for 14 all time against Matt Harvey with a home run, 3 walks. A batting average getting dangerously close to the 200 mark. Backed out and then showed bunt. And looked like a pretty good pitch, but it's ball 1. That had Murphy on the move in from third. Harvey first inning, 17 pitches, 12 strikes. Things happened in a hurry after that bunt by Danny Espinosa. There's a good breaking ball fouled. 1-1.
The dog was 6'5".
You sure that's not a giraffe?
I don't know.
Fastball tails back at 98. Wow. Nats made the most of a bunt, a walk, and a ground ball single. First inning. Desmond in the air to right. It'll back up Curtis Granderson just in front of the track for the first out.
Pretty good swing, just missed it.
Next up, Jose Lobaton. Jose Lobaton. Every time I look at these numbers, it's hard to believe. It just seems like he's been more involved. But this is only his 24th game of the year. He's had 73 at-bats with 15 hits. Wilson Ramos carrying the load. 71 games, 274 at-bats.
He's had a few rough days at the plate, but I feel like for the most part, he gives you good ABs, and he doesn't get cheated.
3 homers, 11 RBIs. 205 overall, 215 left-handed. And career against Harvey 0 for 2. By the way, the Dodgers moved on to Atlanta. Matt Whistler for the Braves. Brandon Beachy, former Brave for the Dodgers, and Atlanta got 2 off him in the bottom of the first inning. Dodgers have a 3.5 game lead over the Giants in the West, and San Francisco's hot again. They've won 6 straight. 0-2 pitch inside. Nats trying to join the Dodgers, Pirates, and Cardinals with at least 50 wins if they can get one here tonight. 2-2. Robotone hanging tough. Finally some cloud cover here to cool off the folks out in right field. And Lobotone will pull one over that side. Backhand Eric Campbell to Harvey. 2 outs. With the former Met, Matt Dendecker, coming in.
Don't miss the DMV's premier PGA Tour golf event. The Quicken Loans National joint host Tiger Woods July 28th through August 2nd at the Robert Trent Jones Golf Club. Did you watch the final round today?
Saw a little bit of it. The Masters and the British in 1 year. Wow. Or the Open Championship, as it's now called. Matt Dendecker was drafted by the Mets in the 5th round 5 years ago. Nats got him in the Jerry Blevins deal at the end of spring training, March 30th. Hit .250 for New York in 53 games last year. Mets drafted him out of the University of Florida. Trying to get aboard here to get Gio into the box. 2nd inning. And Harvey goes 87 to even the count. And the count's back even 2-2. There's a lot to like about Matt Dendecker. The speed, the glove, the defense, and the pop.
Yeah, off the bench, saw one pitch and turned it into a curly W. 3-3 game, made it a 5-3 game, and the Nats won the first game of the series with a Matt Dendecker upper decker.
I don't know if that guy was a Gator fan, but he did have blue shorts with orange and white stripes on them. The Gator colors pulling that one in. Nice play. Dendecker in 19 games for the Nats, 6 for 30. With 2 home runs, 5 batted in. 3-2 now. And Harvey went off speed and missed. Walks the number 8 hitter. That'll get Gio to the plate here in the 2nd inning. Matt Harvey's 2nd walk. And you talked about that little bit of control issue lately with 9 walks recently coming in.
Yeah, he threw 99. He decided to go with a slider right there. It looked like at 87, and Dendecker spit on it. Good job of turning the lineup over. Good at bat again by Matt Dendecker, and he gets to chat with his old buddy Eric Campbell.
Man, our crew shows a guy hitting one upper deck, and they won't throw him a fastball. There's Gio, 1 for 19 with an RBI this year.
Gio still hasn't had his yearly home run.
Yeah. He's got a 3-year streak going.
He took a pretty good batting practice the other day. He just launched him in the bleachers and left.
That's nasty. Cheese at the knees, outside edge. No balls, 2 strikes. And then he gets a curveball on 0-2.
He left his hands there like, all right, I didn't go. Take a look at this. This is like a serious check swing. Most guys pull their hands back. Watch Gio. He just leaves them there and leaves them there. That's as far as I went. What do you think? I'm going to peek up. Did I go? That was great.
An eternity in Exmo.
That was great.
Then he takes a rip and fouls one back, and the crowd liked it. Hey, on a night like this, every extra pitch you make a guy throw can make a difference later.
Looks like he might have felt something in his side there.
Breaking ball up, and that ball is muffed by Daniel Murphy. That looked like a pretty easy play just to the left of his ball cap, and he simply didn't grab it. And that'll be Daniel Murphy's 9th error of the year.
Did they give
2 on, 2 out?
Did they give him an error, though? I mean, he hit this ball hard. Yeah, he should have made the play, but yeah, that's an error. Yeah, I was reaching right there. But a great at-bat by Gio Gonzalez. And look where his eyes are. He's looking at Gio, not the ball, just assuming it's going in his glove. Usually you track it to the last second. That was a great shot, you guys, on the Exmo. Daniel Murphy's eyes not being where they're supposed to be. Watch Gio look in the dugout like, I hit that too hard. He couldn't handle it. Great at-bat by Gio, and now Michael Taylor has a chance to take advantage.
I guess you can say tomorrow that will be a line drive in the box score. Well, you never know. 2 on, 2 out. Here's Michael A. Harvey buzzed him with a fastball low in the zone. Got a call to strike him out first time looking.
That shot of Daniel Murphy's eyes.
That ball's hit hard. Murphy to the bag. Dendecker just out as he gave it a great effort.
I think they might look at that one. Matt Williams is his right hand in the air. Great hustle by Dendecker.
Yeah, this inning not quite over yet. We'll see.
Did you see how Marty Foster started to call him out? But Matt Williams says, no, we're good. All right.
All right.
Settle down.
Great hustle by Matt Dendecker. A walk-in error. 2 stranded by the Nats. And how close was it? Murphy beat him.
Nats up 2-0 as we had top 3 at Nationals Park. Gio Gonzalez has been on a roll lately. He's allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in 5 of his last 6 starts. And I asked pitching coach Steve McCatty earlier today what he attributes that to, and he said that Gio's been throwing more curveballs lately. That's his best off-speed pitch. And last year, Gio started throwing more changeup. That has evolved into a nice pitch for him, but he started using it maybe a bit too much, McCatty said. He was also throwing more two-seam fastballs. The Nats would like him to lean more heavily on the curveball and the four-seamer up. He's effective with all 3 of his pitches, the fastball, the curve, and the change, McCatty says, but the Nats don't want the use of the changeup to pull away from his use of the curveball. He's been using the 2 more often recently, and McCatty says that's a big part of the reason why he's been so successful of late.
Yeah, we showed you those numbers when we signed on. Thanks, Dan, about Gio and his recent effectiveness with that low ERA. And here comes Curtis Granderson to lead off the top of the 3rd.
Well, I think there's a couple reasons why Gio didn't throw his curveball as much last year. His changeup was working, number 1. And number 2, you remember he went on the DL with the shoulder thing. And to throw the curveball, it takes tremendous arm strength, and you really got to get on top. And maybe those 2 things combined, success with the changeup for really the first time in his career and the arm barking for a big portion of the season, is why he got away from the curveball.
1-1 pitch, and that's way outside. Curtis Granderson on a 4-game hitting streak. Then he's hit for some power, 14 homers. 30 RBIs. A lot of his homers are solo shots. He hit 20 last year in his first full season with the Mets. 2-2. Close. He had the hitter's feet moving there, and the count goes full. Sharply hit Danny Espinosa right there. So the one thing Gio has done, Granderson twice, he's retired the leadoff man each of the first 3 innings. Ruben Tejada next. And he came very close to striking out Ruben Tejada back in the 1st inning. A borderline pitch didn't go the pitcher's way.
That strikeout of Matt Harvey to end the 2nd. The Mets now 3 for 66 in their last 8 games with runners in scoring position.
Wow.
Sometimes those numbers can be misleading.
Yeah.
Not when it's 3 for 66.
And you say that, I know, because sometimes a ground ball can drive in a run.
Right.
Productive outs.
Sometimes you line into tough luck if you're 3 for your last 20 with runners in scoring position. Have some good at-bats that nothing to show. But 3 for 66 is 3 for 66.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was guessing that was an .050 batting average. That's .045. I was close. So close to going into engineering. Off to the right side, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Glad you didn't.
There'd be some bad contraptions moving around this country. Good to be back with you, buddy.
Yeah.
Nice job. Thanks to Johnny over the weekend and Phil. Everybody filling in. By the way, our best wishes to Ray. Ray's having another bout with his old kidney stones, and we wish him well because we know that it's a rough ride and hope to get our buddy back in a couple of days. And we're thinking about you, Ray. Hope you're feeling okay.
Yeah, get well soon. And glad to have you back, Carp.
Thanks. And Dan.
Nah, that's like I said.
There was a wedding last week that couldn't have come off without
Glad to have you back, Carp.
2-2. Espinosa again. This time Danny to his left. And it'll be Murphy with 2 outs.
Come out to Nats Park on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Well, first of all, because it's a place to be. Second of all, it's Miller Lite Party Night. Get a game ticket plus a drink while you enjoy live music before the game. Start at just $20. Go to nationals.com/party for this special offer.
Next up, Daniel Murphy, who ripped a double into the right field corner. First time up, moved Tejada to third, but then Gio got busy. He got Flores on a bouncer back to him, and then the great play by Escobar on the backhand side took a hit away from Mayberry that would have driven in 2. 2-0. Daniel Murphy, he's a 20-20 guy this year. He has struck out only 20 times and he's walked 20 times. He's a contact guy who puts the ball in play and gets a lot of line drive doubles. He was out ahead of that one.
So check out Murphy on the line drive. I want to show this again because this is one of the most fascinating shots I've ever seen. And look where his eyes are. I mean, usually the last second you kind of follow it into your glove, but he was just assuming that he knew where the ball was, and it was obviously because his eyes weren't following or tracking the ball.
Yeah. Gio tracks that one. Sharply hit, and he gets his first 1-2-3 inning of the night. That's 5 in a row for Gio, and he's retired now 8 of the last 9 Mets. Well done.
Your strongest fan photo using hashtag #NatsCouchCam, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast that is brought to you by T-Mobile. There's Steven Strasburg taking in a game out of left field bleachers.
Yeah, the Ray and Johnny seats. Or Byron, or Phil. Nationals due up. Bottom of the third brought to you by Honda 234. Denny Espinosa, last 15 games. Hanging in there at 264. Bryce Harper doing everything for this offense. And then Escobar, you might say, doing everything else that Bryce isn't doing, if there is such a thing. All 3 of those guys reached in order in that 2-run first inning. Danny started it with a bunt base hit to the right side. Harvey, 87 to steal a strike. 41st pitch, 28th strike. Then he goes off speed again. Turns over the changeup at 89.
Maybe his best pitch of the night right there.
Wow. He throws that for a strike. The fastball will look like 105.
He didn't have to throw it for a strike. That thing had filthy late movement. Just got to make it look like one.
Yeah, there's the heater. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I think that's what Zach Greinke did yesterday. Besides moving his fastball around, all of his pitches look like they're going to be strikes, and they never really end up there. And then you have the benefit of a generous strike zone on top of it.
Danny extends to stay alive. The Nats lead the season series against the Mets 4-3, but each team has won a series in the other's ballpark. First 3 games of the season here, the Mets won 2. Nats took 3 out of 4 at Citi Field. So there's the 2-game lead by the Nationals, who are 101-89 against the Mets since the start of 05. Espinosa into right center. He didn't get it all, and that's a good thing because it'll drop. Sounded like he busted the bat, and Danny Espinosa's 2 for 2.
Well, that guy's a hero, big time. Little 92 front door sinker right off the end. And I'm trying to think if that might have been a changeup at 92. Either way, it was off the end of Danny Espinosa's bat as you hear the bat break.
Here's Harper again with Harvey on the stretch.
And Danny Espinosa gets on, and now you can't pitch around Bryce Harper. If you do, you have a couple guys on with nobody out.
Yeah, and legitimate protection behind him in Escobar the way he's going.
Just by the way Bryce is taken off Matt Harvey, he's seeing him better than last time. He was on time right there. If that was a strike, he was ready to hit. It was 97, but his foot was down early. His balance was perfect. He's seeing him well.
Bryce IDs it low. Ball 2. The one outfielder really playing Bryce to pull is center fielder Juan Lagares. He's a good 40 feet over toward the right center gap. Bryce takes it outside. Ball 3.
Spitting on pitches. Literally.
Nats are in a lead 2-0.
Yeah, green light time for sure.
Why not? Might be the only fastball you see. It was up and away, and Bryce Harper now is 1 walk short of 70 on the year.
Right, he saw all those fastballs right out of Matt Harvey's hand. He knew where they were going to be. There was no decision-making process. And talking to Terry Collins before the game, he was saying he's marveling how Bryce has progressed in what you just saw right there. Everybody knew that Bryce Harper hit the ball 500 feet. Everybody knew that he had a cannon he could run. But the fact that he's taking his walks and spitting on pitches that are 2-3 inches off the plate. That's why he was so frustrated yesterday with Bill Miller's strike zone and said as much after the game, because, you know, 6 inches is a lot for any pitcher. And that's what he said. He said he didn't give Zach Greinke any credit yesterday. It's one thing to tip your cap to Clayton Kershaw, which he did the day before, but he said he wasn't impressed with Zach Greinke because he was getting a lot of help.
So what's the sweet spot on the bat? About 4 inches at the most?
Yeah.
So you add 6 inches to the strike zone, you can't cover it.
It's not even yeah, I mean, you're right. But when you have an elite pitcher and he's getting help, yeah. You can't cover in, you can't cover away.
Here's Escobar. He'll drive it to right. Looks like a productive out. Granderson circles behind it. Espinosa easily to third base on the first out of the inning.
It's good at bat.
So Escobar, you play him to go the other way. He pulls a base hit. Then the second time he comes up and hits a long fly ball to right field.
And advances Danny Espinosa at third base with 1 out. He's going to get some high fives in the Nats dugout. Productive out, good baseball. That's called getting the job done. And Bryce tagging just in case the throw's high, and Espinosa advances to third. Now Clint Robinson has a chance to put his team at least up by 3 runs.
Yeah, first time up, Clint fell behind 0-2. And then all the craziness of the ball that was out in front of Recker, on which Escobar was thrown out, but Bryce Harper scored. Then he popped up to short. So Clint looking to elevate something out of the infield here. Got a first pitch 87. Diving on him. This year Clint's driven in 15 runs, 4 homers. He will drive one. Well hit center field. Over Juan Lagares. Nets get a break. It hits the wall. And that means Bryce Harper comes home as well. It is 4-0 Washington.
I mean, how good has Clint Robinson been? I mean, he made the team to be a pinch hitter, to hit off closers in the ninth. He's fielding at third base, or left field, first base, maybe third, I don't know. He could do it all. He's pitched, and now he drives in a couple, and a great read by Bryce Harper on the back end. He saw the numbers of Juan Lagares. He knew the ball was going to be over his head. He took off immediately, and that enabled Bob Henley to send him. And another clutch at-bat, and another great at-bat by Roy Hobinson.
Yeah, 14 RBIs now, his last 32 games. Here's Ian Desmond, still only one out. Ian got a pretty good swing first time up, drove the ball to right, caught by Granderson. So the Nats have made 2 walks by Harvey Hurt. Harper both times, and Bryce has scored 2 runs, giving him 62 on the year.
I mean, you're seeing how key it is for whomever to get on in front of Bryce.
Yeah.
And now if you want to pitch around them, go ahead and pitch around them, but you're going to have a runner in scoring position immediately, whether there's no outs, 1 out, or 2 outs. If there's a runner standing on first base, yeah, you can pitch around 27 and 64 if you want. But if the guys behind him are hitting a little bit and this team gets back to full strength with Jason Worth, Ryan Zimmerman, Anthony Rendon, Denard Span, look out.
2-0, and Desmond takes it low.
And I mean, don't look out division. I mean, look out baseball, period.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Well, there may be a couple of ball clubs in this division, the Mets and the Braves, who will look back and say, we didn't take advantage enough when Washington was 5-6 games over 500. 3-0. Desmond hacking. Ground ball left side. Murphy's got to hurry. And the throw's offline. It hits the tarp, goes into the seats, and they will hold Robinson at third base as Ian Desmond goes to second. Could be ruled a hit and an error. And now he will get home. I thought there was an extra base to be had there. And Clint Robinson does score. It's 5-0. And Terry Collins wants to know why. Mike Winters said, hey, we just talked about the ground rules about an hour and 15 minutes ago. So it's 5-0 Washington. Jose Lobaton will be next.
Daniel Murphy having a rough day at third base, and Clint Robinson having a nice day at the plate. You knew Ian Desmond was going to beat this. I was surprised Murphy even threw it right here. You know he's going to be safe. Look where he's at, and he throws the ball up the line into the camera well. And Clint Robinson scores, and Ian Desmond to second base.
And Ian was given a base hit on there, and then both runners advance on the E5. Lobaton pulled one to the first baseman Campbell first time up. So here we are in the third inning, and it's 5-0 Washington. A broken bat hit by Espinosa, the Harper walk, and then the hit of the night. That double to left center by Clint Robinson, opening up this inning and the ball game. Lobaton takes ball 2, and I'm seeing a lot of off speed from Matt Harvey in this inning.
Yeah, he's going to the soft stuff, not having confidence in his 99 at the moment.
He's behind another hitter. Man, he was go mode. They're on 2-0. And that was 90.
Well, back to Dan's first report of the game. The Nats with 4 more runs are 34-9. Matt Williams digging the 5 spot.
Another off-speed pitch, and he walks Jose Lobaton. 4 walks.
Yeah, there you go. Records this season. 39 games the Mets have scored 4 more runs. 43 games the Nats have scored 4 more runs. And you look at the records when they don't. And we talked about Matt Harvey's control problems before the game. 5 against the Dodgers on the 4th. 4 last time out against the D-backs. And what do you got today? 1, 2, 3, 4 walks today in just 2 1/3.
You know, and with all due respect to Jose Lobaton, we love him dearly, but that was an off-speed at bat to a 205 hitter. Here's Matt Dendecker. He walked his first time, and he gets the fastball at 97, gets overpowered by it, and John Mayberry makes the grab in left field. 2 outs. That'll bring Gio up again for the 2nd time in a row. They turn over the lineup by getting it down to the number 9 spot last inning beyond. Long inning in the 2nd, now the 3rd.
You know, he hasn't gotten a lot of help from his defense, but when you see Clayton Kershaw on Saturday and Zach Greinke on Sunday and Matt Harvey on Monday, and I'm just analyzing, that's what I do.
Good call, I think.
His stuff isn't the same as those other 2 we just saw. Not tonight. I'm not saying in general, because we've seen him filthy, rotten, and dirty. But tonight it's not the same as the 2 guys we saw this weekend. And I'm just being perfectly honest. Without standing in the batter's box, being at 3,000 feet up here with makeup on, it just doesn't look the same on TV as the other 2 guys did this weekend.
So Alex Torres getting ready on a night when Matt Harvey's pitching. The Mets bullpen is working in the 3rd inning. That ball ripped by Gio over to Murphy, who's kind of fighting the baseball tonight. He manages to make that play. So the Nats pick up 3 runs, 2 of them earned, 5-0 into the middle innings.
Most important connections, 5-0 Nationals over the Mets as we head to the top of the 4th inning. Gio's been good, Danny's been good, Unell has been good on both sides of the baseball. A little lumber and a little leather from the Nats' third baseman. First time up, base hit. And then he gets in a pickle. Watch the Olay move. Olay! And that allows Bryce Harper to score. Good read by Bryce Harper. As soon as you see that first baseman's numbers, you go. And then toward the line, backhand play. Strong throw right on the money. And then the diving play on the line drive. So Yunel Escobar doing it all. Even smacking the ball around the infield to Ian Desmond.
Let's give the guy a chance to take a breath here. Top of the fourth inning. 4, 5, 6 for the Mets. Flores, Mayberry, and Campbell. And Clint Robinson, that huge hit. You get a base hit like that, this stage of a ball game, everybody kind of exhales. The scoreless streak is over. And now you're on top of one of the best pitchers in the league by 5 runs. Home run rate. So it takes a lot of innings for Gio to give up a home run. National League leaders. He's given up 5 all year. Came into this ball game with 95 innings. So Gio will reach the 100-inning mark and beyond tonight. Wilmer Flores hit that little dribbler in front of the plate that Gio picked up first time, checked the runner at third, and then threw him out.
Tyson Ross in that graphic. His brother going to pitch tomorrow night against the Mets here.
Joe Ross. Can't wait to see him again.
I remember when Pedro Martinez was Ramon's little brother.
And there was nothing at all shabby about Ramon Martinez.
No, he was filthy. He was 6'12".
Yeah, he was tall and had a sidearm whip, and everything went in different directions.
Like 97 with a nasty changeup and a nasty slider, and he had this little brother that was wild and really couldn't find the strike zone, but had a good arm too and was short.
Yeah, so wild he's going to Cooperstown. Yeah. What a career Pedro would have.
Have you heard about Ramon Martinez's little brother? That's what everybody used to say back in the day when Ramon was pitching for the Dodgers. He might make a good reliever because he could really throw hard. Really? And then the greatest trade in the history of baseball, Delino DeShields for Pedro Martinez.
Whew. 1-2 to Flores. And a chopper left side. Yeah, you know who's over there. By the way, for Gio, that's 4 ground ball outs in a row. A great sign for him. Here's our next 5, 2 of them to wrap up this homestand. So it's Joe Ross and Jacob deGrom tomorrow night. Wednesday afternoon, Noah Syndergaard and Jordan Zimmermann. And then strap it on, folks. We're going to PNC Park for 4 scintillating games with those Pittsburgh Pirates. And they're probably looking forward to the Nats coming into their yard after what Washington did to them here.
Is it just the minor league report when we play the Pirates there? Or do we have to say PNC?
No, it's
yes, say it.
If the sponsor's paying for it, we're saying it. Here's John Mayberry Jr. robbed of that hit by Escobar, first time up. I've heard that there are not many tickets left for that weekend series in Pittsburgh. And there will be a lot of red in the stands. We've seen that before. So you folks going over to Western Pennsylvania with us, you better be ready for that 4-game series this weekend. That'll really be something.
Beautiful ballpark.
It's great. 1-2 to Mayberry. Gio went off speed, tried to drop one around the knees. Inside edge, and the count's 2-2. 23 pitches first inning, then 15, then 15 more. But he did get a 1-2-3 in the third. And there's another bouncer to Escobar. He comes forward to grab it. 5 ground ball outs in a row. And Gio now has retired 10 of the last 11. Speaking of PNC, it's the bank for the achiever in you. Abel De Los Santos joins the Nats from Harrisburg today. A right-hander with great stuff. 3-0, a strikeout per inning. 6'2", 180. Can't wait to see him at the big league level. He was asked today, was he surprised to get the call? And he said, yes, I was.
And he's smiling.
Having fun out there.
He should be. He's in the big leagues.
Aaron Barrett digging the dew, huh?
He's in the pros. When you're in the minor leagues, you get in the cab driver always says, when are you going to turn pro? And you want to tell me you're already pro because you're getting paid to play, but you're minor league. So when players joke, like, they call the big leagues the pros.
Got it. Well, did anybody ever say to the cab driver, when are you going to get a GPS?
No, we used to say, is it hotter here in the summer or in the city? And they'd always answer one or the other when we start cracking up.
Fastball away, 2-1. It takes years and years, ladies and gentlemen, for ball players to develop that big league sense of humor.
Oh, it's way hotter here in the summer. Way hotter.
Eric Campbell lined out hard on that diving play by Escobar, first time up. Campbell out of Boston College. Mets 8th rounder. It's been a while now, back in 08. He hit .263 in 85 games last year. From Norwich, Connecticut. 2-2 pitch, and that bounces out in front. Three-two. Gio throws the strike and Campbell out ahead. Who wants it?
Jen does, and she gave it to a kid. All right.
That's great.
See, value of being up 5 runs, you don't really have to get tricky here. 3-2. Just challenge him with a eater. Throw a strike. Go right after him.
Gio skips it in there and walks his second man of the night. First base runner the Mets have had since the Lagares infield hit back in the second. Juan hit a ball sharply to Escobar's left. That deflected to Ian Desmond. So their only hit out of the infield tonight, the first inning Daniel Murphy double. Good curveball in there. Gio willing to try anything against Juan, who's now 9 for 20 career against him. Now he's 10 for 21. Somebody's got to cut that ball off. Bryce does, and that keeps the runner from scoring, and he makes a pretty good throw into second base. That ball scooting on the ground had a chance to drive Eric Campbell in.
Oh, great play by Bryce Harper to keep this a 5-0 game. He made a pretty good throw to second base, and it was going to be close too. I'm thinking this ball's ticketed for the gap, maybe a triple for Lagares in a 5-1 ball game. But watch the outfield playing very quick, maybe a little quicker than they're used to after the concert. And Bryce Harper with a good throw on the money, and Ian Desmond drops the ball again. He's having trouble just catching the baseball lately.
So another second and third, 2-out situation. Gio and Lobaton can pick how they want to pitch to Anthony Recker here with the pitcher on deck. The Mets bullpen is not working again, which would lead you to believe that Harvey will bat, even if the Nats pitched around the number 8 hitter. With a 5-run lead, you can choose, and that's a breaking ball outside. It skips in there, and Lobaton makes a fine play to his left.
Well, it looks like he wants Matt Harvey, and you think that's the right choice if you have confidence in your command at this point. And I think he does. He's been throwing strikes for the most part. Doesn't really want to give in here to Anthony Recker. And let's see if they just stand up and walk him here in a 2-0 count. Yeah, that's what they're going to do. Yeah,
once it goes to 2-0, you'll see this a lot. So that'll load him up with 2 outs. Then Harvey walks to the plate.
I think this should be a separate category for intentional walks and stats for pitchers. If it's a stand them up,
yeah,
intentional walk.
So you're saying why should that count against the strikeout to walk ratio? I think it's a good question.
Even if you get to a 3-ball count and the catcher stands up for 1 pitch and makes it ball 4 and it's an intentional walk, there should be a separate category for that.
Contact your congressman and let's get this ball rolling. I like it.
If a congressman's deciding that, we're all in trouble.
Gio keeping the ball away from Harvey. No balls, 2 strikes. He drives it, and that's into right field. Harper cannot make a throw home, and Matt Harvey gets the Mets 2 runs by dropping 1 into short right field.
2-out walks will kill you. It seems like they always find a way to score. And Gio Gonzalez cruising along in this game with 8 ground ball outs. Walks Eric Campbell on a 3-2 pitch. Then a double by Juan Lagares. Intentional walk to Recker, which was the right move, by the way.
Yeah.
And Matt Harvey just doinks 1 into right field, and all of a sudden we got ourselves a ball game, 5-2.
And Lagares, the trail runner. Bryce had no chance for a play at home, so he wasn't going to start throwing the ball around. And we'll see as the next couple of innings go by if that's a game changer for the Mets. Top of the order now, Curtis Granderson. Gio is facing Eric Campbell with 2 outs and the bases empty, who is hitting about 165 coming into that at bat, and he walked him on a full count. Granderson a strikeout and a ground ball.
Wouldn't you know that breaks up a 3 for 66 with runners in scoring position? It was the pitcher, Matt Harvey.
Yeah. The answer to the statement, you got a bat, do something about it. Right. Well, he did.
Right, he did. Help himself out big time.
Good fastball by Gio. Counts even 1-1. Up in the zone with some pop. That went outside. Granderson tries one. Espinosa knocks it down. Outstanding play on a ball with a lot of smoke on it to end the top of the 4th inning. Mets pick up a couple. Is it a new game? We'll find out soon. Tom out ahead. Bill, George, Calvin, Teddy, Abe. Kind of taking it easy. It gives you the feeling something might happen right at the end.
I like the celebrity guest president thing. I hope the Nats keep that up every year and we have a different president for the season.
Martha Washington takes out 5 presidents with one swing of the bat.
She still has a beard, though, and that's kind of creeping me out. Just a little. He has been talking to himself while we were at break. Very frustrated with how that inning ended. Talking to Steve McCaddy now, a little bit more calm, but he came in fuming.
Bottom of the 4th inning, Michael A. Taylor, Danny Espinosa, Bryce Harper. 65th pitch coming from Matt Harvey. Gio has now thrown 84. Fastball upstairs. Taylor trying to bunt for a hit. Harvey to his right. High throw, and it's pulled down by Eric Campbell for the first out. Michael just didn't get it close enough to the third base line.
Yeah, a little more line. He had it. Nice play by Matt Harvey. So come out and cheer the Nats on Wednesday, August 5th. That's this Wednesday. Oh, no, that's not this Wednesday. That's a while from now. They take on the Diamondbacks at 7:05. Tighten it up. First 20,000 fans will receive a Jason Worth Chia Pet. Oh, yeah, this is the Jason Worth Chia Pet thing. This is the one everybody wants. Go to Nationals on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Periscope, whatever. Or visit nationals.com to purchase your tickets today. Jason Worth Chia Pet.
Yeah, that's the next homestand.
Yeah.
After the Nats get back from playing the Mets, they'll play the Diamondbacks 4 and the Rockies for 3.
Close, real close. Different month, different homestand. Nailed it.
Danny Espinosa 2 for 2 tonight. Batting average at .256. Espinosa and Harper have scored 4 of the 5 Washington runs.
They're going to have to put a lot of seeds in that Chia Pet if they want it to be Jason Worth.
1 ball, 1 strike.
I mean, whatever a Chia Pet seed package is, they have to triple it. I mean, if it's going to be authentic, right?
Wonder what the dog will think when he sees that thing. The 6'5" dog. Espinosa on a pitch away, fouls it. 1 ball, 2 strikes here in the 4th.
Long look.
Harvey from that far first base side of the rubber. Way inside. I was about to say that gives him an angle to the outside edge of the plate, and he came way off the plate on the other side there. Anthony Recker just back in the big leagues today and working with Matt Harvey. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Espinosa, fly ball left side, drawing a beat on it. Daniel Murphy, and he's waiting for it for the second out. So Bryce will bat for the first time tonight without Harvey off the stretch. Numbers from STG, major league ranks, top 5 in average. Tied for first in home runs with Mike Trout and Giancarlo Stanton. The RBI's 4th, the runs in the top 5. Although he's tops in the National League in runs, they just simply score more runs in the American League.
And he's been seeing Harvey well all night. You just tell by the way he's taking pitches. He's picking them up early.
Walk in the first, run. Walk in the third, run. I thought he might be looking for first pitch heater. He got one, 98 on a ball tailing to the outer half. Recker moves out further. Harper gets under it to Granderson in right field. Off the bat, the crowd with a big reaction, but it falls, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Harvey into the fifth. 5-2 Nats. A lot of action in this 5-2 game. We go top five. Nats on top. Tejada, Murphy, and Flores. Gio Gonzalez will have to go a ways to get 5 innings in under 100 pitches here tonight. Escobar's had quite a night in the field and with the bat. Ruben Tejada, a walk and a ground ball and a base hit. Even if Ian Desmond gets to that, he's not going to throw out Ruben Tejada. And the Mets showing some life offensively, and there could be some action in the Nats bullpen here soon. Great effort by Ian Desmond. Here's Daniel Murphy. He's hit the ball hard twice. Double right field corner. The one-hop comebacker that Gio speared to throw him out in the third. His only 1-2-3 inning. Murphy to center. Ball's got some carry to it. Taylor under it. Onto the track. A 390-foot first out. Inside the numbers with Jeep on some injuries. And FP, we've got to disclaim some of these numbers. The Nats don't have the most games lost from disabled players in the big leagues this year. Other teams have more. But you're talking about your starting first baseman, your starting second or third baseman, Rendon, your right fielder, your center fielder, one of your best starters, Steven Strasburg. Maybe in the quality of the players, the Nats would jump to the top of that list.
Yeah, you think so, right?
A lot of beaten up ball clubs out there.
Denard Span, Steven Strasburg, Anthony Rendon, Jason Worth,
Ryan Zimmerman.
All twice on a DL. And Jason Worth went 1 for 3 with a single in Syracuse tonight. So that's good news. And the best news is, like I'm telling all of my friends, I got the elevator in my building yesterday after the game, and some guy goes, "Where's the offense?" I said, "Where's the offense? They're all coming back. They're hurt." And you talk about the trade deadline, getting Denard Span, Anthony Rendon, Jason Worth, Ryan Zimmerman, Steven Strasburg for no prospects. Okay. If you're wondering where the offense is, they're coming, folks. And there was a couple of pretty good pitchers in a row.
That ball was hanging, and Wilmer Flores waited and waited and hit it hard to right field. 2 more hits by the Mets here in the 5th. So there's been a momentum shift here. And next up will be Big John Mayberry Jr. And there is stirring in the bullpen. Trying to get Gio at least through 5 here. Mayberry's pulled it twice to Escobar, 0 for 2.
Well, Gio always an excitable type. I feel like the last 4 or 5 starts with Jose Lobaton back there has done a nice job of not letting anything rattle him. But that 2-out walk and the double by Lagares seems to have rattled him. We watched him in the dugout. He was frustrated probably by the walk more than anything else that happened. Or maybe he wanted to go after Anthony Recker and not Matt Harvey. I don't know. But he's trying to get that momentum back. You're right, Carp. There has been a shift.
Yeah, 3rd time around has been a problem this year. That's a breaking ball blocked by Lobaton. Gio has pitched 7 innings 4 times this year. One of those against the Mets at New York in a 1-0 win May 2nd. Then he did it here against Atlanta. And then 3 starts ago against the Pirates, 2 starts ago against the Giants. Other than that, he's pretty much been a 6-inning pitcher this year. 1 ball, 1 strike. Off the end of the bat, Bryce Harper broke back. He's got plenty of time to come in to make the catch. 2 down. Good pitch by Gio, keeping the ball away from a big, strong right-handed batter. It'll bring up Campbell, who drew that damaging walk last inning.
Ever since the first curve that Gio threw to Curtis Granderson, he's kind of been feeling for the pitch and not really letting it rip. When he's got the good arm speed on the curve, forget about it. And tonight, for whatever reason, as we see a conference at the mountain, maybe a little change of signs with a middle infielder on second base. He's just kind of guiding it in there. I'd love to see him just let one go. Throw it as hard as he can, see what happens. The curveball. Really speed up that arm on one and get on top.
Matt Williams, Randy Noor, Steve McCatty. Eric Campbell, line drive to 3rd, walk and a run scored. 2 big runs out there for the Mets.
Like in hitters' terms, take a 3-0 hack with your curveball and see what happens. Let it fly.
.90 in there. Tanner Roark is up. What an interesting weekend he had with that Friday-Saturday thing.
You're lucky I'm even talking to you after missing that Friday game. Seriously. I sent you a few nasty text messages in the middle of that whole thing.
That's what you did.
You're lucky. You're so
guess what?
lucky I'm even talking.
You weren't the only one texting me from this booth.
It's a good story, though. It's a great experience.
No balls, 1 strike.
You and missing Dan down there.
Oh, he's not nassing
No,
Dan
he's
anymore?
missing Dan.
Well, I was praising your professionalism from my couch while I was working on my double strawberry shortcake. 1 ball, 1 strike. Campbell gashes one to right center. Michael A. Taylor, he gets there! right in front of the scoreboard to keep this from being a 5-4 game. One of his best plays ever as a Washington National.
Ever. He outran the baseball. A gear we haven't seen from Michael Taylor. He's been playing a lot of left field. And now with Denard Span, the DL, he's playing center. And I saw a gear that I haven't seen of Michael Taylor right there, and he just kept us a 5-2 game. We'll show it to you a lot on the other side of the break, but what a play by the Nats center fielder on the run. Amazing. Make that play, and let's see it as many times as we can. Watch the extra gear here. I mean, right about there, full stride, low flying, reaching out with one hand, fence approaching, and you see him take the peak. That's the key to that whole play. He knew exactly where he was, and then he could keep running fast. He didn't have to decelerate because he looked and knew where the fence was, and what an athletic play by Michael Taylor.
Eric Campbell angry. I love the college teammate reception he got from Bryce Harper out there.
Ian Desmond, Danny Espinosa, everybody with maybe one of the biggest wow moments we've had here on defense this year when you consider the series, the importance of it.
Wow. Murphy throws out Escobar on one pitch, bottom of the fifth underway.
And maybe Denard Span makes that play, but it would have been a more difficult play for a left-hander because he would have to reach across his face to make that play. And sometimes when you reach across with your glove, you block your vision. But Michael Taylor, being a right-hander and the glove on his left side, had a clear view of that in stride. And almost like a wide receiver making a touchdown catch on a ball that was a little bit overthrown. He ran it down. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a breathtaking burst of speed.
I want to see the stat cast on that, and I want to see how fast he was running. I can't wait to see that.
Here's Clint Robinson with the big hit of the night for the Nats. The two-run double that made it 4-0 back in the third.
I'm going to guess 22 miles an hour. That's how fast he was running right there. And the line, the route was pristine, perfect.
That ball well hit by Robinson to the gap, but it's hanging up. And Curtis Granderson over there. They were bunching him, Lagares and Granderson, toward that gap. 2 outs. One more look.
Yeah, I'll keep watching this all night. Keep showing it to me, guys. Did he hit his hand on the fence? Because we saw some attention in the dugout to his bare hand. And maybe there's a little cut involved right there as he runs into the chain link.
Yeah.
He's not in the dugout right now. He went underneath. And I don't feel like he's feeling anything with the adrenaline rush on that catch. Wow. As good as you'll ever see.
Here's Ian Desmond, infield hit last time. And that's a good slider by Matt Harvey. Outside edge for a strike. Desmond 1 for 2. 5 career hits now in 16 at bats against Matt Harvey.
We always joke about the height of our booth, lovingly, of course, because we do like it up here. On plays like that, we have the best seat in the house.
It is.
On balls in the gap, and we get to see the routes, and you and I thinking, no way this ball is going to get caught, and it does.
Desmond up the middle. To his right, Wilmer Flores makes a very good play. So the Nats go 1-2-3, and quietly Matt Harvey has turned his night around. He's due to bat third when the Mets come up. Top 6. It's that kind of summer event. 1 year ago today on a Sunday, Jason Worth chasing Anthony Rendon home from first. Soriano had blown a save, and the Nats won it 5-4. Jason Worth went 5 for 12 in that series. And it was a walk-off double that gave the Nats 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee right out of the All-Star break last year.
Can't wait to see that guy back in the lineup.
Mets box. 2 runs in the 4th. Both driven in by their pitcher, Matt Harvey.
But there's Lenny Dykstra down left-hand corner. He's here.
There he goes.
Yep. Nails.
Cutter's dad, right?
Uh-huh.
There's Juan Lagares. Gio in his 6th inning of work now. Still in the ball game because he got through that 5th inning on 11 pitches. There were 3 balls hit hard, but he lives to fight against the bottom of the order as Matt Williams sends him out for 3 more outs.
Good changeup.
Nice. Now we'll see what the Mets do when Harvey's batting spot comes around. There's nobody throwing in their bullpen. Harvey's only thrown 80 pitches, and they feel like they're back in the game. Gio missed his spot as Lobaton had set up way inside. Juan Lagares 2 for 2 in career against Gio, 10 for 21. Trying to find a way to get this guy out. Chopper to third. Escobar on 2 hops. That's a big out for Gio here in the 6th inning.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 plays so far for Udell in this game. He's getting a lot of action. 5 ground balls and a line drive.
And that's the 8th ground ball out overall by Gio tonight. Here's Anthony Recker. Walked intentionally last time up. Harvey coming out on deck. And then when we get to the bottom of this inning, based on Gio's pitch count, which is now at 100, what the Nats will do when his spot comes up. It's a game of momentum, though. It's funny how a pitcher can turn things around in a hurry. Harvey's done it by retiring 8 in a row.
Carl, you could argue that Michael Taylor got the momentum back in the Nats dugout with that play he just made in center field.
That is a good call on a great play. as much ground as we've ever seen a center fielder cover in this ballpark. Right. Off the end of the bat, and Bryce Harper's right there. So 2 quick outs for Gio here in the 6th. And he wants to get Matt Harvey and get his boys back in the dugout in a hurry.
I just say this, if you get 5 runs off Matt Harvey, you have to win that game 99.9999 times out of 100.
All right, I'll say every time.
Yeah. I just left a little wiggle room, as I always do.
By the way, crazy ball game in Atlanta. Braves led the Dodgers 5-0. I hope what happened there doesn't happen here. Dodgers have picked up 4. It's a 5-4 game now.
Well, I don't like where your head is at. You need to change your attitude.
No, I'm confident it's not going to happen. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Matt Harvey's getting some good rips in.
He now has 10 career RBIs with that hit last time. Off to the right side. Locked him up, and that's a strikeout. So Matt Williams sends Gio out for another inning. He gets a 1-2-3, his 2nd of the night. 4 strikeouts, 2 runs given up in 6 innings. Gio quality tonight. From his pitching coach, and he had to battle his way through that 5th and 6th inning. So Gio ends up his night on a high note. You know, we're not always that crazy about the quality start, but 2 runs in 6 innings. That's a pretty good ERA. He stands to be the winner, and now the bullpen takes care of the rest of the night.
Tell me my collar was messed up before he went on there. No, he did a good job. I mean, the play by Michael Taylor.
Yeah.
You said most grounded Nats Park. You remember Roger Bernardino in Houston, the play he made in the bullpen?
Yeah.
I mean, that won the game. So this might
Everything's
save
bigger in Texas.
This may have saved the game at the moment, but I think Bernardino is catching in Houston at Minute Maid Park every bit as good as the one Michael Taylor just made. But I mean, you're talking about a 5-4 game with a tying run on 3rd.
Well, Bernardino's was to end a ball game. Maybe in some sense, Michael A. Taylor's would end this one if the Nats can hold down the Mets the rest of the way. So Gio battles through 6. Michael A. Taylor saves a couple of runs. And don't forget the runs that Yunel Escobar saved earlier in the night. So D, huge for the Nats tonight. And Jose Lobaton leads off bottom of the 6th inning. Harvey's 81st pitch of the night, so he could be around for a while more.
Denard had a catch up against the bullpen here. It was 2 years ago, maybe last year. The one they made the bobblehead of him. Yeah. That was a big one too. So I got those 3.
And years ago, Roger had one here.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Bernardina, straight back over his head when he almost went into a headlong dive when a ball headed to the center field track. Guys who can just take your breath away with some of the things they can do at their speed. 2-1 to Lobaton. Swing and a miss, and I think over the next couple of years, Bryce will come up with a couple as well. Lobaton, Dendecker, and then most probably a pinch hitter. As Matt Thornton is throwing out in right field, at least beyond right field. And that's up and away, 3-2. So it looks like Thornton for the 7th. Mets will have the top of their order. And the reason for that is Granderson batting first and Murphy batting third. Left-handed hitter, so a perfect time to go with him. Swinging a foul tip, and it's into the mid of Anthony Recker. 1 out. For Matt Harvey, only his 2nd strikeout of the night. So the Nationals, as you look at the box score, have put the ball in play. The only other strikeout, Michael A. Taylor back in the 1st inning. Danny Espinosa, 2 runs. Bryce, 2 walks, 2 runs. The big blow, the Robinson opposite field double 3rd inning to make it 4-0.
And don't forget, Taylor's was a questionable call on a low fastball, too.
Right. So Matt Harvey, really not a lot of swing and miss stuff tonight. Just as we say that, he gets nasty with 86. He's a horse. He can go a lot of pitches, Matt Harvey. 109 last time out in a 4-2 win in 7 innings against the Diamondbacks. Up the middle, he'll just stand there and grab it. 2 outs. And for the Nats, another Wilmer will step onto the field. It's 24-year-old Wilmer Defoe recalled, and as the switch hitter off the bench, he'll pinch hit here. Wilmer 1 for 7 as a pinch hitter. And that's the extent of his big league at bats with the Nats this year. And Harvey will grab that one, and this inning quickly comes to a close. And the Mets and the Nats motor their way into the late innings. Top of the order, top of the 7th, 5-2 Washington. presented by authority of the Washington Nationals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of the Washington Nationals. Ball rolling Escobar's way quite a bit tonight. He's answered every one of those challenges. And with a lot of great out-of-school kids enjoying a summer night, this one into the 7th inning. Washington on top 5-2.
Well, you got to come out
one more snow cone.
Excuse me, Carp. You got to come out July 1st. It's U.S. Marine Corps Day. That's delivered by UPS, and that's welcome the New York Mets. 7:05 start. That's tomorrow. Representatives from the U.S. Marine Corps participate in pregame ceremonies. The president's own United States Marine Band will perform the Star Spangled Banner. Go to nationals.com to purchase your tickets and mix in a calendar, FP.
Matt Thornton takes over. 33rd appearance, 2.11 ERA. He's only given up 5 earned runs in 21 innings this year. Curtis Granderson is 4 for 27 career against him. They know each other well from the American League. And the hook outside. 1-1. So Gio goes 6. 6 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 1 intentional, 4 strikeouts, 107 pitches, 66 strikes. But Gio got through the last 2 innings on just 23 pitches. Nice. So a great finish with a flourish for him.
He did a nice job putting the wheels back on. How about Matt Thornton having to shake off the rust here? His last appearance was the 10th of July. Today's the 20th, so 10 days between appearances.
Fastball right side. Tanner Roark, when needed against some right-handed hitting.
So if it gets to Wilmer Flores, you'd think that Tanner Roark would be in the game, but right now it's Thornton for Granderson, Tejada, and Murphy. 2 of the 3 left-handed.
And a 3-2. Threw him a strike and got him to pop it up. Right side of the infield, Danny Espinosa. Drifting with it. Man, that ball took a while to come down. And Curtis Granderson hasn't hit a ball out of the infield tonight. He's 0 for 4. Yeah, that outing, Matt Thornton, 2/3 of an inning in the Friday night game at Baltimore. Gave up no runs on a hit.
Officially the highest pop-up of the year, by the way.
Got all of it.
Yeah, he got all of it. I mean, it was up there forever. It was over our heads. And Danny Espinosa keeping the feet moving, 2 hands, nicely done, and it was in the air for 8 seconds. Definitely a fair catch and play.
There's Tejada, 1 for 2 with a walk. Matt bolting a fastball in there. Ruben Tejada, 2 for 2 career against the Nats left-hander. Pretty good hack on a pitch up at 94.
Good pitch, tied him up.
Nationals are trying to win their 50th game of the year. And they're trying to go 10 over 500 at home in the division. A great number to hang your hat on. Oh, 2 to Tejada here. And that's right off the end of the stick where Clint Robinson can grab it and go to the bag. 2 quick outs. So 2/3 of the way home for Matt Thornton in his assignment. And now it'll be the lefty-lefty matchup with Daniel Murphy, who's 1 for 3 career against him. Double in 3 trips. Pretty good breaking ball, had the left-handed hitter reaching. Well, there's nothing easy about an 84-mile-an-hour curveball. Had him reaching again.
Slider, slider, slider. Pretty good ones, too. Another one. Five. Yep.
2-2 pitch. And a ground ball right to Danny Espinosa. What a good 7th inning against a couple of lefties and a right-hander for Matt Thornton, getting the bullpen set up for the rest of the night. Michael A. Taylor will lead off in the bottom of the 7th. It's our Hyundai 7th inning stretch at Nationals Park. Construction up the street. It'll be awesome when they get that done. So, Taylor, Espinosa, Harper, the Nats, 5-2. On Masson, brought to you by Southpaw, in theaters everywhere July 24th, and by Airlines for America, where airplanes land, opportunity takes off. Warm night at the ballpark. That might be a part of the park that some fans never see right behind home plate.
That was a Sean Burnett 7th right there. Uneventful.
Good call.
Nicely done, Matt Thornton. Hey, what about this catch? Let's see it one more time. I can't see it enough, and I know you want to see it at home. Game changer. Big time game changer. And you see it hit him in the heel and kind of roll up into the web, and I'd be frustrated too if somebody robbed me of a double or a triple.
Michael A. Taylor will line one right at Flores, who drops it. And then plenty of time to throw him out. Some guys not looking the ball into their gloves tonight, evidently.
Some bad hops on some line drives. Wind shears, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Here's Danny.
That could have been knuckling that one, though.
Yeah. Espinosa 2 for 3 tonight. A bunt hit. And then a flare to right. 2 runs scored. Set the table for a couple of Bryce Harper at bats where Bryce was walked. And in both of those innings, the Nats scored all 5 of their runs. It is no coincidence. So even when Harper's not doing damage swinging the bat, his presence in the lineup having a big influence on what's going on.
He just missed one last time up, too. Just missed it.
(2-0). Matt Harvey, 7th inning of work, and he's just now over 90 pitches at 92 as Alex Torres is up for the 2nd time. Wearing that safety ball cap that is optional for big leaguers.
I need one of those just walking down the street.
2-1. Well hit to the right of Tejada. This will be close. And he got him. What a play. Very good play by Ruben Tejada.
Matt Williams held his hand up. They're going to take a look at it in the Nats clubhouse. But what a play by Tejada-ish until we find. He looked out to me from way up here, but I don't think they're going to check it again. What a play. Great swing by Espinosa. One hop bullet. Well, a couple of hops. And Tejada into a dive. The key to that is arm strength and getting up quick along with a little bit of range. And it just beats the speedy Danny Espinosa. There's been some good defense here tonight. To go with some weird defense too, but
yeah,
more good plays than bad by far.
The Nats do not have a hit since the 3rd inning. The Mets have 2 since the 4th. So Harvey has really settled his night down. He's on quite a roll here. I've got him for 13 in a row since he walked Jose Lobaton back in the 3rd inning. Fortunately, the Nats got to him early. A couple of walks he issued really hurt the Mets' cause. Upstairs to Harper, 1-1.
By design, Bryce swung at a high strike first pitch. Matt Harvey tried to expand the zone north with a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. Look at him settling in after a rough first 3.
Yeah, 64 pitches after the 3rd inning. Off speed, it drops in. First of a 3-game series. Great pitching throughout this 3-game set. And a 1-2 pitch. Harper reaches out and fouls it away. One thing I've noticed a lot about Bryce this year, a lot of 2-strike counts. He has fouled countless balls off to the left side of the field until he could get something to work with, or else take his walks.
Well, you know, he's protecting. He does a nice job of defending the strike zone with 2 strikes and hoping that he gets another pitch that he can drive.
Look at that, 6 home runs on 1-2 counts this year. That's going to get him.
That's a good pitch.
Bryce was backing out. Doesn't like the call of Mike Winters. Doesn't say a word. And the top of the 8th is upon us. Matt Harvey has retired. 14 Nats in a row. They will greet the Mets. And nobody in the All-Star game last week was any nastier than Jacob deGrom. 9-6 with a 2.14 ERA. He's never beaten the Nats, though, and Joe Ross in 3 starts, 2-1 with a 2.66. That's the middle game of this 3-game series. 6:30 Nats extra on Masson 2, and what a show he put on in Cincinnati.
Slowly becoming their ace, if not already.
Casey Janssen trying to take care of 8th inning business here against Wilmer Flores, John Mayberry, and Eric Campbell.
The command has been great from Jansen his last 3 or 4 times out. Fastball averaging 87. Slider, cutter, curveball change to go with it. Opponents hitting .221 against the Nationals right-hander.
Man, he wasn't really part of the bullpen mix the first time these teams got together this year. That's a pop fly out of play to the right side. Wilmer Flores 1 for 3 tonight. Faces Casey Janssen for the first time. Lines one hard to right. Here comes Bryce, and Harper picks it right off the turf with an outstanding play. 1 out.
Outstanding jump. We talk about all the time, ready for the baseball. And people ask me what's Bryce Harper doing in right field. First thing I say, he's ready for the baseball. And after just having a rough at bat and a rough call, he didn't take his offense out on the defense, which a lot of players do. In a 3-run game, got a great jump, comes in, sliding catch. If I ain't hitting, you ain't hitting. Nice play by Bryce Harper.
Great defensive moments in this one tonight. Pitchers throwing strikes and guys on the alert behind them.
It's impressive.
Yeah, right now you'd have to rate Bryce as good as anybody in the league coming in on a ball.
Or in right field, period.
Mayberry 0 for 3. And Casey Janssen with 89 misses, 2-0.
Check it out one more time. So Michael Taylor with a gem and Bryce Harper with a beautiful sliding catch. Casey Janssen with the golf clap of approval.
2-0. Popped up. Lobatone, it took Jose a while to find it. And he stays with it, and I think he's got it. He does. Wow. Dealing with the wall, the rail, and the camera well over there. And that's 2 outs here in the 8th inning.
They say offense is contagious. What about defense? You know, Escobar got the party started with some beautiful plays at third base. Michael Taylor jumped into the party. Bryce Harper joined it late. And now this one by Lobatone. I'm telling you, you're not going to see a better catch by catcher all year. Watch that. Negotiating stones, beers, fans, and a gate. What a play by Jose Lobatone as he falls on the cement railing down there at the bottom. But there was a whole lot of stuff going on, and that was a high pop-up. Amazing defense here tonight by the Nats. You talk about throwing some leather at the Mets. They've done that here and then some.
Here's Eric Campbell, who got robbed his last time up.
Wow. They're 2 of the most impressive outs back-to-back we've seen this year.
Campbell 0 for 2 with a walk and a run scored. And a ball heading to right field that is going to drop. So after gashing 2 balls and getting nothing out of it, he gets a flare off the end of the bat for a base hit.
You hear the crowd kind of, oh, they thought another play was coming.
That'll bring in Juan Lagares, who will face Janssen for the first time.
He made a great play. Yunel Escobar's made a few at third. Jose Lobatone, unbelievable right there.
Mets have out hit the Nationals 7-5, but defense has taken care of the inequality there. They're going to throw the baseball out, get a new one.
Oh, I just thought that was a bad throw over.
Up in the zone to the inside edge for a strike. 0-2 to Jansen.
Jansen has good tempo. He's hitting the spots, and you know, he don't forget he started the year on the DL too, so he is just starting to round into his form, and I think you're finally starting to see the real Casey Jansen, because his control, the cutter, he's been putting it where he wants. The off speed's been great, mixing it up nice.
0-2 with the target in. Tried to bury it in there, and Lagares fighting it off.
I haven't really seen a catcher move his glove in his last 3 or 4 outings. He's just been darting his spots. Felipe Rivero getting hot.
To the count with 2 outs. Then he bounces one that Lobaton smothers. (5-2) Nationals, top of the 8th inning. And Juan Lagares not getting cheated in this AB. The entire at bat from Nissan. Close to a swing and no swing, says Mike Malinsky down at first base.
Well, you know how you think he went as you look down immediately and you see Escobar running off the field, Desmond running off the field, and Jansen running off the field. We'll see it from the side. Did he go? No, he didn't. They all thought he did, though.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Up the middle. Jansen a piece of it. From behind the bag, Desmond gets it from Espinosa. Nifty play by Danny Espinosa. The 4-6 strands the 8th Met of the night, and the Nats continue to play great defense.
With 1 out, and Danny Espinosa and Bryce Harper aboard. Hits a bolt to left center field. That would score Bryce Harper. and Danny Espinosa. Bryce with a great read from first base. Saw it over Juan Lagarza's head, took off. And Clint Robinson have a nice night. Danny Espinosa a couple of knocks. Bryce Harper scoring a couple of runs. Nice play in right field. 5-2 as we head to the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, one team has definitely out-defensed the other in this one. And here's Alex Torres, who comes in after Matt Harvey goes 7, as it turned out, fairly strong innings.
Yeah, fastball average at 92 for Torres. Slider, curveball change to go with it. 37th appearance, ERA at 3.03. A lot of walks, 23 of them. And opponents hitting .216 against the Mets left-handed pitcher.
Yeah, and Alex Torres, we talked about this before. Where's the protective cap? After he was with the Rays a couple of years ago and saw his teammate Alex Cobb take an Eric Hosmer line drive right in the head. He's worn it ever since with the Rays, the Padres, and now the Mets. Escobar 0 for 1 against him this year. And, you know, looking for another multi-hit game.
I'll tell you what, whatever you think about that hat, if a line drive does hit it, he's going to have the last laugh.
I mean, you're talking about guys' lives possibly at stake there. And he's in some ways a pioneer because a lot of guys just don't want to wear it. 1 ball, 1 strike. .27 years of age. He's got a long life ahead of him and trying to pitch effectively here.
I played with a few guys that needed that off the field too.
And this one popped up to the right side for Eric Campbell. It too will come down, and he has to make a diving, reaching backhand catch. He wasn't getting a whole lot of help there, and he managed to grab it himself.
That one was higher than Curtis Granderson, so now that's officially the highest pop-up this year. Straight up the elevator shaft, a little carry to it, and watch Campbell start doing the pop-up dance. Whoa! That one was in the air for 7 seconds, so I'm wrong. Granderson's still in the lead. Good emergency adjustment by Campbell.
Here's Clint Robinson facing Torres for the first time. He goes up the middle. Another Clint Robinson base hit. And he's 2 for 4 tonight. That'll get his batting average up around the 275 mark. Clint continues to give the Nats outstanding at bats.
Left-hander, right-hander, doesn't matter. Clint Robinson can hit. And I think Bat died a hero here. Had a funny sound to it. Maybe off the end, but perfectly placed. Strong man hit it. And his out was hit pretty hard to right field tonight. He could have 3 hits.
There's Ian Desmond 0 for 3 against Torres' career. And Ian's looking for a 2-hit night. That's low. Drew Storen, unless the Nats score here, it is a 9th inning save situation. Desmond to right center. That ball carrying, and it's not a safe situation anymore. A 2-run opposite field shot. 7-2 Washington.
And that dude caught it.
That's number 8 for Ian. RBI total up to 26.
And Ian Desmond, with a little luck, could have had a 3-hit night. He'll settle for 2 in his 8th home run of the year. And that was a bullet to right center field. And that got out of here in a split second. Great swing by Ian Desmond. It's got to feel great, doesn't it?
Well, Drew Storen just left the bullpen mound. Maybe just to get a drink, but we'll see how the Nats will play it. Up by 5 now. And here's Jose Lobaton. That ball hit way out of here with 1 out in the 8th.
Had a good swing his first time up on the fly ball to right. The base hit his second time, was robbed by Wilmer Flores his third time, and now a home run to right center field, and keep them coming.
For the Nationals, their 90th home run of the year. And Ian just getting closer and closer to that 100 home run mark. Hey, maybe the next one will be a grand slam and he can reach 100 and 400 at the same time. Lobaton reaching for a pitch up, couldn't get it.
What do you got in the hit speed there, Cart? You want to guess?
I go 100.
I was gonna say 101.
Okay.
It's got to be 100 or more.
In there, and Jose Lobaton gone for the second out in the 8th inning.
Remember, our Washington, D.C. Lexus dealers are donating $250 to the Children's National Health System for every home run a Nats player hits this season. So keep them coming, Ian Desmond. It's for a wonderful cause. Lexus, the pursuit of perfection. Hit speed? We both overbid. Still a bullet.
Love those opposite field shots.
I think you and I should play guess the hit speed the rest of the year.
Okay.
Only on home runs, though.
We'll tally it up, and the winner gets his next speeding ticket paid by the other guy.
Oh.
And I like my chances on that one.
I feel like I will win.
That clunker I drive compared to yours.
Drive to win, there is no second.
Matt Dendecker with Dan Uggla on deck here in the 8th. Lots of breathing room for the Nats now in game 1 of this series. They've got their 5-run lead back.
Let's watch Ian Desmond's home run one more time. Beautiful swing right here. Kind of letting the ball travel. In baseball terms, they call that backing it up. And he backed that pitch up, and nice play by the fan out there. Ooh, brought his glove. And that had to feel great for Ian Desmond. First home run since June 28th at Philadelphia. Second game of that doubleheader.
Well, still looking for a big second half from him. One and two, and Dendecker with a little pop fly on the mound and not. Or on the infield, not long enough for anybody but the pitcher. 2 runs sat down Drew Storen, and the Nats 7-2 into the 9th.
data strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag NatsCouchCam, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. That's brought to you by T-Mobile. Kevin Kruger and his sons Timmy and Mikey. There's your fan photo of the game. Way to go, guys. Good looking bunch.
Ian Desmond, 26 RBIs, 8th home run of the year, gives the Nats a 5-run lead. And Drew Storen will get some work here because he hasn't been out there in several days. This call to the pen packaged by the UPS Store, your one-stop shop for all your small business needs. Let us handle your mailbox service needs. We love logistics. 28 saves on the year for Storen.
See, when he started the warm-up in the bullpen, it was a save opportunity. The 2-run home run by Ian Desmond puts it out of save range. But look at what righties are hitting against Drew this year. 0.94.
And left side of the Mets bench comes into play here now. Kirk Neuenhuis in the top of the 9th will hit for the catcher, Anthony Recker. And they've got Lucas Duda over there as well. Drew Storen throws one outside. Good run on that fastball right to the outside edge. Kirk Neuenhuis, career against Drew Storen, 0 for 5. And then the slider got away.
I'm excited to see these two teams play late in the season when they're both at full strength.
And there will be plenty of those opportunities. As we mentioned, including this series, 2 more here and 2 more in New York between the Nats and the Mets. But one thing about the Mets, I don't know what the magic potion is for this. You've got to win more than 1/3 of your road games to have any chance to contend for anything.
That's a good point.
With a loss tonight, they would be 16-31 on the road. Drew goes changeup. Count goes to 3-2.
Neuenhuis coming off that 3 home run game he had on the 12th against the Diamondbacks.
And Drew Storen, 94 for the strikeout.
Might have been a cutter at 94.
Edge.
Yeah, I think that ball cut a little bit. So he'll sink the fastball, he'll throw a 4-seamer, he also cuts it a little bit, and you can see how Jose Lobaton kind of catches that going toward Neuenhuis. He sees his fingers on the outside of the ball, just a little bit of cut at the end might have been the difference at 94. Good pitch.
Next up, their other left-handed bat off the bench, Lucas Duda, who's 2 for 8 career with a home run and 2 RBIs against Drew Storen. Fastball missing away.
He's 13 for his last 98, a 133 average with 37 strikeouts.
Boy, and that's a surprise, isn't it?
Yeah, since June 17th. And the last time the Nats saw Lucas Duda, he was locked in.
This is a guy who had 30 home runs and 92 driven in last year. Now he hit 253 with 135 strikeouts, but somebody in your lineup has to give you those kind of power numbers with David Wright as injured as he's been the last couple of years.
That's a rough spell.
Granderson on deck here in the 9th. Danny Espinosa, short right field. Escobar right side on the shift. That goes right up the middle between Escobar and Desmond. And Escobar points at Ian Desmond as if to say, you should have had that. 1 on, 1 out.
Cheer on the Peanuts as they begin the second half of the season and fight to secure a playoff spot. Visit the Fitz August 1st and 2nd for Goonies Night and Mike Cameron's induction in the Hall of Fame. For all your tickets and promotional information, visit PotomacNationals.com.
Curtis Granderson is 1 for 3 career against Drew Storen.
You see that a lot with leg kick guys going back to Duda. You're either hitting 500 or you're in a big time scuffle because there's so many moving parts and timing that has to be just right. That's why when you see guys like Jose Bautista or Ryan Zimmerman.
And a ball hit to right. Bryce Harper can only take it on a hop, and Drew Storen's given up a couple of hits here.
It's time for Toyota Case for Kids. Washington area Toyota dealers want to help children and their families by making a donation of $37 to the Children's Inn at NIH for every strikeout by an Nats pitcher this season. And those guys are trying to help Drew Storen along here, seeing what the signals are, what sequence they're going to use with the runner on second. Ian Desmond telling Danny Espinosa, and Drew looking for a ground ball.
Not a big strikeout night. Gio had 4 in 6 innings. Matt Harvey had just 3 in 7 innings. And Ruben Tejada stepping in. He's 2 for 10 career against Drew Storen. On base twice tonight. He runs well. Tough guy to double up. Only 1 grounded into a double play this year. And that's Lobaton reaching way to the backhand side.
When you're thinking about Drew Storen's season, the only rough outing he really had was in Tampa.
A non-save situation. Yeah.
And as we all know, and Nats fans know just as well as anybody, he's an adrenaline junkie. And when you have that save opportunity, it's a different story. But right now, he's looking for a few outs.
Yeah, you take away that outing, his ERA's down about $1.50 a game.
Got a good cut lower tonight. Real good.
1 ball, 1 strike. Byron Kerr and Phil Wood with Nats Extra when this one's over. That's a good heater, 94. The Nationals are trying to go 15-5 against the East here at home. And Drew Storen with the slider just outside. Got him that time. Check swing by Tejada. Drew got the called strike and 2 outs.
Perfectly placed slider. Good frame by Lobaton to get the call. Might have been the difference on this pitch. Watch Jose Lobaton pull this ball up. And Mike Winters saw it as knee high, and Lobaton made it look that way.
Last chance for the Mets, Daniel Murphy. 1 for 4 tonight, and 2 for 11 career against Drew Storen, outside ball 1. in the air on a shot. And why shouldn't Michael Taylor make the last play of the game?
One of the better games the Nats have played all around this year. From the offensive standpoint, getting 5 runs off Matt Harvey, adding on to those 5 runs. Gio Gonzalez negotiating his way through a little bit of trouble, only giving up 2 runs. Great defense, great bullpen. Solid game and message sent to the Mets in Game 1 of this huge series.
Yes, sir. The road to the NL East crown still goes right down South Capitol Street, at least for one more night. Nats win at 7-2. Back with more in a moment.